This is the Austin Angela podcast. This is Austin.
Start over.
No.
Do not talk in the podcast about what I said. I feel guilty about it.
This is the Austin Matt podcast. This is Austin.
This is Matt.
And today we binge watched Stranger Things season 4, all 7 episodes. Some of them felt like feature-length films. It was fantastic. Matt, what'd you love about it?
Oh my gosh. What was there not to like? I think, Austin, I'm not kidding you when I tell you this is probably the most excited I've been for one of our podcasts ever, because it was so good. There was so much to love about it. I'll keep it brief as I can, and as non-spoilery as I can. Number one was the characters. I think the one thing I really noticed was that introduced more characters and still managed to not feel like there was too much. Like everybody had their place. Everybody had their moment. It never once felt like, oh my gosh, there's way too many people here. Never, ever felt like that. It worked so well. And there were some new characters, some fresh faces, some people who were kind of new last time, who definitely got more moments this time. It was so much fun. And I really enjoyed that. Speaking of the characters, Dustin and Steve still have their friendship going on. There was a moment that I won't give away that really just like hit my heart, where I was like, wow, now that right there, that is friendship. That is beautiful. Just one little moment. I'll have to tell you what it is later, but you might even know what I'm talking about. So I was really happy to see like Dustin and Steve back together for sure. That really worked. And I mean, really with the characters as well. I think I talk a lot on this podcast about how there's a lot of shows and movies where as the stakes get raised, I never believe it. I never once am like, oh, I'm so worried about them. This show was able to take those characters and make me genuinely worry, because it was like the stakes were being raised, and I was like, I don't know what's gonna happen. I don't know what's gonna happen to these guys, and I don't want anything bad to happen to these guys. It actually got me very like wrapped up in it in a way that I don't think a movie's done in a long time. So that was like incredibly refreshing to get to care about characters in that way again. As Stranger Things has done a million times, they played with a lot of different genres. They had a lot of little movie references, and they all were working. And there was even things that I didn't necessarily feel were gonna work, and then they 100% worked. It felt like there was so many little genres in here, more than they've done in the past. I think in the past it was very much kind of like, okay, here's your horror, here's your young people adventure, here's your E.T., here's your John Carpenter, here's your Stephen King, and it kind of stuck just in those kind of like 3 basic areas. And this time it kind of broadened out even more, and I wasn't even like in the first episode I was like, I don't know if this is working, and then by the last episode it had all worked. But there was these moments that felt kind of like a stoner comedy. There was an action scene in here that I think felt different from anything we've seen in Stranger Things before, and it worked so well. Like after that scene I was like, this is just the Duffer Brothers showing off. This is them showing everyone that they can do anything they want and do it well, and they are good at it. It almost felt like, here's the Duffer Brothers resume for after this TV show is done, because after Stranger Things is done, they could probably go anywhere and do anything with anyone. I don't think there's a single studio that exists anywhere that would not beg the Duffer Brothers to work for them. And this season shows it more than ever before, where it's just like, you guys did everything. It almost, even like, we've reviewed Everything Everywhere All at Once recently, it genuinely reminded me of Everywhere All at Once, because it was like, here's all of these genres, here's all of these tones, and they are hitting them on the head every single time. And I was just like, thank you so much for just existing, this show. You are so great. And it did make me wonder, like, is this where the future of cinema is going to go, where it's like, instead of getting one little genre movie with a few other little feelings in there of like different genres, it's like, maybe we're just going to start getting these crazy movies like this season of Stranger Things and Everything Everywhere All at Once, where it's just like, oh, we're not going to just do a few things, we're going to do all the things. So I really enjoyed that. The little movie references, there's one to The Changeling, which is an old horror movie. It was great. I got very excited. There was definitely some moments that felt a lot like Shutter Island to me. So it was kind of like, it was just so cool to see them do even more than they've done before. It was really good. I do think that this acknowledged Eleven's past in a way that I always kind of was annoyed by. I think even in the first season on a recent rewatch, I was like, okay, this girl's how old and she's like murdered how many people? And I felt like they never really like acknowledged that that's a problematic thing. And this season kind of got into that in a way that I was like, yes, thank you so much. There was also something, and I'm not going to go into specifics. There's something that I don't give me that look.
You were like, I'm gonna go real quick and like talk through this, and it's like in this point, in this point, in this point. You have like a laundry list that you condense down, and now you're pulling it all back up. You're like that guy that has like the scroll that like falls and like rolls down the hallway.
No.
Yeah, I'll let you go.
It is still so much shorter. I am going so fast. This is still short. They did have something happen here that I felt was being set up like 2 seasons away, and they delivered on it finally, and I got super happy about that. Okay. I'm sorry. Austin, go ahead. I'm sorry that I had such a laundry list. I tried to go through it so fast.
First thing that you notice about this season as you kind of go into it is very like season 1 roots, where like season 3 for me was like very like happy and peppy, and like they had a lot of bright colors. Like it was summer themed. The other ones had been like winter and like Halloween, and this was a summer one. It was very bright, very colorful, and like they really played into those tones. I loved it. This one is in springtime, but it's like a dull spring when it starts, and it really hits hard. And I love how they start out and they give you so many questions as you go into it. So like you really start to question, that's like, what is going on, and how is this unfolding, and how does this play into, and what happened to these people? So they gave a lot of questions. They started answering those questions as it went on. There were things that I honestly had an impression that it's like, oh, like it feels like we're starting over a little bit, and then that's not the case at all. So I was definitely shocked. I was listening. I was watching the last episode on my laptop, and my wife was in the room, who started watching it with me, and I out loud was like, "What the fuck?" And she's like, oh, "Is that about Stranger Things?" And I was like, "Yeah." Oh man, so it's good. It definitely hits you a little bit, and I, as you mentioned before, like stakes were raised, and I felt like that was done by some early on failures that were really awesome. So for me, this was truly an experience. I can't believe that we went through 7 episodes, most of these extending past an hour, and I still feel like there's so much that I want to know and I want to get into. So like it's so awesome. I'm excited for part 2 to come out, but it's just really good, really positive. Now, Matt, what is like some of your critique points?
This will be a little bit shorter because I did love it so much.
Oh, okay.
I do think it felt a little overstuffed sometimes. I think in the previous seasons, from what I can remember, we always kind of had 3 core stories. I swear this had like 8. Like obviously not 8, but it sometimes, like I mentioned, it never felt overstuffed with characters, but it felt overstuffed with events. Like sometimes I was like, there's a little bit too much going on here. Not necessarily like I was getting lost, but still kind of when you're reading a book where there's a lot of different things happening, sometimes you get that point where you finish one chapter on a cliffhanger, and then you kind of skip ahead and you see you've got 6 more chapters until you get to figure that out, and that is frustrating. I felt that way sometimes here, where I was like, hey, get back to these guys. I gotta know what's going on here.
Yeah.
So that it did feel that way. Sometimes it still worked very well. And one thing that I really dislike is that Netflix is successfully keeping me here for another 2 months. Their plan worked. I'm sure. I am 100% sure that the reason they split this season up this way is because they were like, ooh, we lost some subscribers. This is going to hit us hard. So, here's what we do. We release 7 awesome episodes at the end of May, make them wait all of June, and then release the next season at the beginning of July. So they have to stick around for 3 more months no matter what. So they got me. They got me good. So I get a genius business plan, but I'm still not happy about it. Cool. Austin, what did you dislike?
Yeah. So I kind of mentioned a little bit earlier before where last season was like very happy and very colorful, and I really enjoy that. I know I mentioned it to you and kind of in private, but season 3 actually like crowned as like my favorite season, and it probably was because of just how bright and positive it was, even though there's this monster going around and killing things and things like that. Whereas this one like started out like really like dull and gray, and I was like, oh no, like we're going back to this. That quickly changes as things go on, but I was definitely a little I guess turned away at that moment. But after the first episode, if you're not hooked at this point, just drop the series completely, because that was a fantastic first episode. And then of course the one critique to mention is that the time difference from last season to this one is supposed to only be like 6 months. It's been like 4 years. The actor who plays Dustin has also made some public comments about it, where he's getting really worried about like the age gap. If you didn't know, Dustin was the oldest when they started season 1 of the kids. He was 13. He's now 19, turning 20. So
I will say congrats to them for making me believe that he was not 20, because he did not look 20, but he definitely, like when it first started, I was like, he looks like a different person. Like it wasn't even, yeah, it was some big differences for sure. But
yeah, man,
I'm surprised that he's that old.
Don't need to be Angela today.
Leave me alone.
But Matt, are you gonna rewatch this season?
Yeah, it's funny that you say that. I was like watching it tonight, and I was like, I'm gonna have to watch this whole thing over again.
Yeah.
Like because I watched this so fast today. I watched this from 3:30 until midnight tonight. I will forget all of that like tomorrow. So I am gonna have to watch this again, which is great because I obviously have a month to do so. But yeah,
I'm probably gonna
really
go start rewatching it right now. So
yeah,
that's good. Any final things you want to say?
I would probably say this is one of my very favorite seasons, if not my favorite. Like,
wow,
this is
like
good.
that.
If it is as good as season 1 and 3, if not maybe better. So
cool. I think next week I'll let you know if like where it fits in my little totem pole. I need
like
you. I need a second viewing.
yeah.
Cool.
Okay.
Sounds good.
Cool. Bye.
Bye, friend. LA.